You're welcome back. We're still looking at that cash withdrawal limits, the limit on cash withdrawal policy by the Central Bank of Nigeria. And we have the Chief Executive Officer of Center for Promotion of Private Enterprises, Dr. Muda Yusuf. He's been trying to get to us for hours, but unfortunately, the situation on Lagos-Ibadan Expressway stops him from joining us physically, at least for now. Good morning, Dr. Yusuf. Thank you so much for your efforts. Unfortunately, you couldn't make it at this time.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ine. Morning.
Yeah, but share with us your thoughts. We just spoke to Professor Nalo, who is the Chief Executive Officer of National Institute of Credit Administration, and his views are that this policy is coming rather late. It should come earlier than now because Nigeria may just be trying to catch up with the world. The world has gone and so this is even coming late.
Well, the truth of the matter is that we have made significant progress as far as going electronic or going digital is concerned. The payment system in Nigeria, in our financial system, is one of the best that you have around the world. I shared some statistics earlier with you. Unfortunately, I'm not there to speak to it. Electronic payment in the first 9 months of this year was over 270 trillion naira. Trillion naira. POS payment in the first 9 months of this year was about 6 trillion. Mobile payment was over 4 trillion in the first 9 months of this year. So when we talk about our status, our performance as far as cashless is concerned, the Nigerian economy, this country is far ahead of many other countries. We are ahead of many of the advanced economies as well. If you look at that slide that you are showing on your screen now, apart from Norway and maybe Sweden, we are ahead of many other countries when you relate our cash to our GDP, because that is the way to measure it. Many advanced countries are still at around 10% or something. Nigeria is just 1.8% cash to GDP ratio. That's a good measure of how we are doing as far as the cashless economy is concerned. So the point to make here is that we don't fix what is not broken. All this process, all these exercises are unnecessary, and it will just hurt the vulnerable segments of our economy. And that is the point that the National Assembly was making. If we are embarking on any policy process, we have to be inclusive. We have to bear in mind the vulnerable segments of the society. We need to bring as many people on board as possible. And we need to expand the scope of consultation. That is the point that was being made by the National Assembly. And I'm hoping that the CBN will take that on board. We have made progress as far as cashless is concerned, but we need to worry about the vulnerable sector. And when I talk about vulnerable sector, I'm referring first to the informal sector of the economy. Because when we talk about resilience of the Nigerian economy, it's coming largely from the SME, from the micro enterprises, and from the informal sector of the economy. That is the source of the resilience of the Nigerian economy.
All right, Doctor.
In spite of all the challenges.
All right, Dr. Yusuf, but I mean, you mentioned the National Assembly, the House of Representatives, to be specific, and we heard Honorable Ndue Lumelude talking about the issue of banditry insecurity, that this might be starving them of cash, and it might be a way to also fight insecurity.
You see, the CBN cannot do everything. The CBN is in manufacturing, it's in agriculture, it's in tourism. The CBN cannot do everything. And we need to come to terms with that. There are statutory institutions who are supposed to deal with issues of crime, cyber crime, financial crime, physical crime, and all. We have institutions for that. We have the Financial Intelligence Unit that's supposed to monitor the movement of either electronic payments or even cash payments. In the banking system today, there's a threshold above which whatever transaction you do must be reported statutorily to the Financial Intelligence Unit. That is their job. The CBN cannot abandon its own job and begin to do other people's job. This is going to hurt the economy. It's going to hurt the informal sector. It's going to hurt the distributive trade sector. The trade sector accounts for about 40% of our GDP. In 2021, the trade sector contributed 21 trillion to the GDP of this country. They are one of the largest employers of labor. If you now throw this in and you cripple activities at the retail end, in the rural areas, where there's a lot of commodity trading taking place, people are selling grapes in bags, and these transactions sometimes are in millions. And if people say they don't have confidence because there are no banks around them, I mean, they have a right to also exist. They have a right to do business. So we should draw a line between even regulatory actions and even the fundamental rights of the citizens. We should interrogate some of these things.
All right, Dr.
So
Yusuf.
if there are boundary issues, vote buying, let other institutions deal with that.
All right,
it's not the duty of the citizen to now make it core function.
All right, Dr. Yusuf. So, assuming that the CBN find the House of Representatives, they're proposing a joint meeting with the Senate and possibly the CBN governor also going there to talk to them. Assuming that all fails, because the CBN governor has already said he has the approval of the president and that there's no going back on this policy. Assuming that the CBN goes ahead with this 20,000 naira limit daily and 100,000 for individuals, 500,000 for corporate, what kind of impact can we expect to have or to see in the economy? Of course, you talked about the trade sector. You talked about, of course, the people in the rural area, the unbanked. What impact can we expect, especially seeing the season, the politics and the festive season that we're in?
So it's going to slow down economic activities. It's going to cripple some activities, especially in the trade area. And you know, those who are traders are just part of the value chain in production. Because when people produce, they don't sell directly to consumers. It is the traders that make these products available to consumers. So if the traders are having issues with the velocity, the momentum, the tempo of economic activities or transactions because of this challenge with cash, then it will affect even the manufacturing sector. It will affect those who are producing. Because the traders are the customer-facing end of the value chain in business or even in production. So it's going to have a systemic effect. And in any case, I don't expect the CBN to impose itself on the National Assembly. The National Assembly, even the president is accountable to the National Assembly. The CBN is just an institution of state. So I don't think that should happen. The CBN has autonomy, yes, but autonomy is not absolute. You have to be accountable to somebody. Some people have said you are accountable to the board, but it's the chairman of the board of CBN. So how much accountability can you get from that? So the National Assembly is the ultimate. The National Assembly has the power to even remove the president. That shows how powerful they are. So I expect him, at least, to be humble enough to listen to the voice of reason and of the National Assembly.
All right,
and in any case, what are we fixing? What is the problem? Cash as a percentage of money supply is just 6%. You show the graph there. Cash is the smallest component of money. So we are already cashless. So I don't know what the CBN is after.
Dr. Yusuf,
it's unnecessary.
Just before we let you go, at what point then do you think that Nigeria, because I mean, the other opinion or conversation is the world has gone cashless. I know you said we have made a lot of progress, but we do know that, I mean, we go to countries like Kenya, if you go to the open markets, they don't use cash. You go to, I went to some open markets in South Africa a couple of years ago, and they don't use cash. At what point do you think Nigeria will be ready to get to that level? Perhaps this policy is supposed to catapult Nigeria to that level.
Ini, I don't agree with. We are already ahead of many of these countries that you mentioned. Every economy needs some measure of cash. And you measure the intensity of use of cash by comparing the cash to your GDP. Cash to GDP in Nigeria is 1.8%. In United States, it's about 10%. Even in this Kenya, I'm not sure that we are doing as well as we are doing. Even in the urban centers, how many people use cash anyway? You go to supermarket, many people are carrying their ATM card. They are using POS. POS transaction in the first 9 months of this year was over 6 trillion naira. What is the total amount of cash that we are talking about? We are already ahead of all of these people, unless people are not interpreting the data properly or they don't understand the data. This should not be an issue. This is the least of our problem. And we should not go and disrupt the business of our rural people, our informal sector, because they have enough troubles already. I mean, you know how things are? Look at the value of the naira. And the CBN is saying that go to stock ATM with only 100 naira and 200 naira. What can you buy with 100 naira these days in this economy? I mean, it's a very punitive policy. It should not stand at all. It should not stand.
All right, Dr. Yusuf, thank you so much for your efforts staying in traffic for hours. And yet, I mean, I'm glad at least we were able to get your views on the program. Thank you so much and have a safe drive.
Thank you. Thank you.